Before anyone says I deserve this, please just listen. Yes, I told my husband his father would have treated me better. Yes, I said it during a fight. Yes, it sounded awful. I know that now. But I didn't mean I wanted to be with his dad. I didn't mean it literally. It was a stupid, angry sentence that came out wrong in the heat of the moment. I didn't think my husband would pack my suitcase. I didn't think he'd drive me to his father's house at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night. I didn't think he'd ring the doorbell and tell me to go find out. But here I am, trembling on this porch, holding my overnight bag like some kind of pathetic refugee from my own marriage. The porch light flickers on, that awful yellow bug light that makes everyone look sick and desperate. I hear footsteps inside, slow and confused. My father-in-law opens the door. He's in his bathrobe, the blue plaid one his wife bought him for Christmas 3 years ago. He's squinting at us, confused, half asleep. His hair is sticking up on one side, and there's a crease mark from his pillow across his cheek. Behind me, I hear the car door slam. Not violently. That's the thing that makes it worse. It's calm, deliberate, final. I turn around just in time to see my husband walking back to the driver's seat, his shoulders set, in that way that tells me there's no negotiation left. He doesn't look back, not even once. His hand reaches for the door handle, and I think my heart actually stops beating for a second because I realize he's really doing this. He's really leaving me here. The engine starts. I watch his face through the windshield, illuminated by the dashboard lights. He looks like a stranger, someone I've never met, someone I don't know at all. And then the car is moving, backing out of the driveway, and I'm standing here with my suitcase and my father-in-law in his bathrobe, and the reality of what I've done crashing down on me like a physical weight. If you're already hooked, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and hit that button to boost the story. Drop your city or country in the comments. I genuinely love seeing where everyone's watching from. It makes me feel less alone in all this mess. Now let me rewind, because I need you to understand how we got here. It started small. It always does, doesn't it? We'd been married for 3 years. Not perfect, but not terrible either. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our Friday night takeout tradition where we'd argue for 20 minutes about whether to get Thai or Mexican and always end up with Thai anyway. We were fine. That's what I kept telling myself. We were fine. But that night I was exhausted. I'd worked a double shift because my coworker called in sick again, the 3rd time this month, and I came home to find the dishes still in the sink, the laundry still in the hamper, where I'd left it that morning, the trash can overflowing with takeout containers and empty soda cans, and something inside me just snapped. I didn't say anything at first. I just started doing it myself, slamming cupboards a little harder than necessary, throwing silverware into the drawer with enough force to make them clatter. He looked up from his phone, barely, just this quick glance. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Which, as we all know, means I was absolutely not fine. You don't seem fine. Well, maybe I'm tired of being the only one who does anything around here. He put his phone down. Excuse me? You heard me. And that's when it started spiraling into something neither of us could control. He said I was being dramatic, that he'd done the dishes yesterday, so why was I acting like he never helped? I said 1 day of dishes doesn't erase 3 years of me carrying the mental load. He said I was keeping score. I said someone had to because he certainly wasn't paying attention. He stood up from the couch, and I could see his jaw was tight. You know what? Nothing I do is ever enough for you. And that's when I felt it, that hot, prickling sensation behind my eyes. Not sadness, anger, pure, white-hot anger. Maybe that's because it isn't enough. Your father managed to keep his house running and treat your mother like a queen. But you can't even remember to take out the trash. Silence. Dead, heavy silence that seemed to fill the entire room and press against my eardrums. He stared at me like I'd just slapped him across the face, like I'd reached into his chest and squeezed his heart in my fist. I should have stopped there. I should have apologized. I should have said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I'm just tired. Let's talk about this when we're both calm. But I didn't. Instead, I said the words that would destroy everything. Your father would have treated me better. The second it left my mouth, I wanted to swallow it back down. I wanted to rewind time by 10 seconds and choose different words, any different words. But it was too late. The air in the room changed. It became thicker, heavier, suffocating. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't throw anything or slam his fist against the wall. He just looked at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Something between betrayal and complete detachment, like he was watching a stranger instead of his wife. Say that again. His voice was quiet. Too quiet. I didn't mean to, I started, but he cut me off. Say that again. I was just angry, I tried, but he shook his head slowly. You said my father would treat you better. It was a figure of speech. No, you meant it. You've been thinking it. And now you said it. I scrambled. God, I scrambled so hard. Babe, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it literally. I was just trying to make a point about effort, about showing up, about being present in the relationship. By comparing me to my dad. By saying he'd be a better husband. That's not what I said. That's exactly what you said. I reached for his arm, but he pulled away from me like my touch burned him. I'm sorry, I whispered. Please. I'm so sorry. He didn't respond. He just stood there, staring at me like he was doing calculations in his head. Like he was measuring something, weighing options, making decisions I wasn't privy to. And then he walked out of the kitchen without another word. I followed him. Of course I followed him. Where are you going? He didn't answer. He walked into our bedroom, straight to the closet, and pulled out my small suitcase, the navy blue one I used for weekend trips to visit my sister. What are you doing? My voice cracked on the last word. He placed the suitcase on the bed, opened it with a sharp zip, and started packing. He wasn't throwing things. He wasn't shouting. He was folding, carefully, precisely folding my pajamas, my jeans, my favorite hoodie, the grey one with the coffee stain on the sleeve that I refused to throw away. He grabbed my toothbrush from the bathroom, my phone charger from the nightstand, my face wash, my moisturizer. Every movement was precise, controlled, terrifying in its calmness. Stop it. Stop it right now. He didn't stop. You're being ridiculous. Still nothing. I said I was sorry. He zipped the suitcase shut, turned to me, and said, in the calmest voice I've ever heard come out of his mouth, I'm giving you what you want. He pulled out his phone. I watched, frozen, my feet seemingly glued to the carpet as he dialed. It rang twice. Then I heard a groggy voice on the other end. Hello? His father. Hey, Dad. Sorry to wake you. Can you keep the porch light on? I'm bringing someone over. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I might vomit right there on our bedroom floor. No, you can't be serious. He hung up, looked at me with those eyes that used to light up when I walked into a room, and now looked at me like I was nothing. Get in the car. You're not actually going to drive me to your father's house. This is insane. You're being insane. He picked up the suitcase, walked past me, out of the bedroom, down the hall. I chased after him in my bare feet, my voice getting higher and more desperate with each word. This is insane. You can't just pack my bags and drop me off somewhere. I said I was sorry. Doesn't that mean anything to you? He opened the front door. The cool night air rushed in, raising goosebumps on my arms. I wasn't dressed for going outside. I was in leggings and an old t-shirt, no bra, no shoes, nothing. He loaded the suitcase into the trunk with a soft thud, opened the passenger door, looked at me. Get in. I got in. What else was I supposed to do? Run away? Where would I go in bare feet and pajamas? Call someone? It was almost midnight, Everyone was asleep, so I got in the car and sat there, shaking, while he walked around to the driver's side with that same terrifying calm. I kept trying to talk to him during the drive, kept trying to explain, kept apologizing over and over until the words lost all meaning and just became sounds coming out of my mouth. Please, please don't do this. We can work this out. We can talk about it. I'll never say anything like that again. I swear on everything. Just please don't take me to your father's house. He didn't respond. He just drove, his jaw set, his eyes locked on the road, his hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, like he was taking a driving test. I watched streetlights blur past. My hands were shaking in my lap. I tried to reach for his hand once and he moved it to the gear shift. The rejection was physical, a slap without contact. Please, I whispered, please don't do this to us. To me, nothing. Just the sound of the engine and the tires on asphalt and my own breathing, fast and shallow and panicked. And then we turned onto a street I recognized. His father's street, the one with the big oak trees, and the house with the blue shutters and the neighbor who always had those tacky garden gnomes. No. The word came out small and broken. No, please, please don't make me get out of this car. He pulled into the driveway, put the car in park. The porch light was on. Just like he'd asked. Just like his father had promised. He got out of the car. I sat there for a moment, frozen, hoping that maybe if I just stayed perfectly still, this would all somehow reverse itself. But then he opened the trunk, and I heard him grab my suitcase, and I knew there was no going back. I scrambled out of the car, stumbling over my own feet, my vision blurring with tears. Please! I grabbed his arm with both hands, holding on like if I just gripped tight enough I could anchor him to me, to us, to what we used to be. Please don't do this. I'm begging you. I'll do anything. Anything you want. I'll never complain again. I'll never compare you to anyone. I'll be better. I promise I'll be better. He shook me off, not violently but firmly, and carried the suitcase up the 3 steps to the front door, set it down gently, almost tenderly, like it was something precious, and rang the doorbell. The sound echoed in the quiet night, one of those melodic doorbells that plays a little tune. I'd heard it hundreds of times before at family dinners and holiday gatherings, but now it sounded like a death knell. The door opened. There was my father-in-law in his bathrobe, squinting at us in confusion. What's going on? His voice was rough with sleep. My husband turned to him and said, in that same terrifyingly calm voice that was somehow worse than screaming, "She said you'd treat her better than I do, so I brought her here. She can find out." The silence that followed was suffocating. My father-in-law's eyes went wide. He looked at me, at his son, at the suitcase sitting on his porch. What? I didn't mean it, I blurted out, my voice breaking into pieces. I didn't mean it like that. It was just a stupid thing I said during a fight. I wasn't saying I wanted to be with you. I was just angry and tired and I said something I shouldn't have. My father-in-law looked horrified, embarrassed, lost, like he'd woken up in the middle of someone else's nightmare. "Son," he said quietly, "what are you doing?" "She thinks you'd make a better husband," my husband said flatly, like he was reading a grocery list. "So here she is. She's all yours." "It was a joke," I sobbed. "I was angry. I didn't mean I wanted to be with him. I just meant that I wanted you to be more like him, to be thoughtful and present and remember important things. Can't you see the difference?" My father-in-law held up a hand, his face bright red even in the dim porch light. Okay, let's all just calm down. Everyone's upset and tired and saying things they don't mean." He stepped aside, gesturing awkwardly into the house. "You can come inside, if you need a place to stay, just for tonight, until you two figure this out." The humiliation was a physical thing, a weight pressing down on my chest until I couldn't breathe properly. I looked at my husband, pleading with my eyes, trying to communicate everything I couldn't say out loud. Please don't leave me here. Please don't let this be how it ends. Please fight for us. Please fight for me. He turned away from me, walked back down the steps. Wait! I ran after him, stumbling in my bare feet on the cold concrete. You can't just leave me here. Like I'm nothing. Like 3 years of marriage means nothing. He opened the car door. Please. I grabbed his sleeve, clutching the fabric between my fingers. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll never say anything like that again. I swear on my life. He looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd soften. Maybe he'd see how destroyed I was. Maybe he'd realize this was too far, that he'd made his point and now we could go home and actually talk about this like adults. But instead, he said, "Go see if he treats you better." And he got in the car. I stood there in the driveway, watching his taillights disappear around the corner. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't process what had just happened. I just stood there, sobbing, in the middle of the night, in front of my father-in-law's house, in my bare feet and pajamas, like the world's most pathetic punchline to a joke nobody thought was funny. Behind me, I heard my father-in-law's voice. "Come on inside. It's cold out here." I turned around. He was standing on the porch, holding my suitcase, looking at me with so much pity it made me want to scream. But I didn't scream. I just walked up those 3 steps and into the house, past him, into the living room that smelled like old books and the lavender potpourri his wife kept in bowls on every surface. I sat on the couch, that same couch where we'd opened Christmas presents and watched football games and had Sunday dinners, and I wrapped myself in the afghan his mother had crocheted, the one with the ugly orange yarn that somehow worked with the pattern. My father-in-law made me tea, asked if I needed anything, told me I could stay as long as I needed, but I could see it in his eyes, the discomfort, the awkwardness, the second-hand embarrassment radiating off him in waves. He was kind, but he didn't want me there. Nobody would. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there staring at the wall, watching the shadows change as the hours passed, replaying every moment of the fight, every word I'd said, every expression on my husband's face, trying to figure out where it all went wrong, when exactly I'd crossed the line from angry wife to someone who deserved to be abandoned on a doorstep. By morning, everyone knew. That's how these things work in families. Someone tells someone who tells someone else, and suddenly everyone has an opinion about your marriage and your mistakes and your character. His sister texted me first. "Did you really say that to him? What were you thinking?" Like I hadn't been asking myself that question all night. His mother called. I let it go to voicemail at first, but she called again and again until I finally answered. "We raised him to respect women," she said, "to honor his wife, to put family first, and you throw his father in his face. You compare him to his dad like he's some kind of disappointment. I'm disappointed in you. I thought you were better than that." I tried to explain, tried to tell her it was taken out of context, that I was exhausted and angry and said something I regretted immediately. But the more I explained, the worse it sounded. His brother sent a single message. "You're lucky he didn't do worse." I stared at that text for a long time. Lucky. Lucky that my husband humiliated me in front of his family. Lucky that he abandoned me at his father's house like I was a stray dog he'd grown tired of. Lucky that my marriage was falling apart because I said one sentence in anger. How was any of this lucky? At 10 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A text from my husband. My heart leaped. Maybe he'd calmed down. Maybe he wanted to talk. Maybe we could fix this after all. "I'll send the divorce papers in the morning." That was it. "No, I need time." "No. Maybe we can talk." "No, I'm hurt and angry, but I still love you." Just divorce papers. I stared at the screen until the words blurred, and I realized I'd destroyed everything with one sentence. "Here's what nobody understands. Here's what I need you to hear. Yes, what I said was wrong. But what he did, driving me to his father's house in the middle of the night, humiliating me in front of his family, refusing to even talk about it. That's not normal either. That's not how you handle a fight in a marriage. You don't just abandon someone because they said something hurtful. You talk, you work through it, you give them a chance to explain and apologize and make it right. But he didn't give me that chance. He made a unilateral decision to punish me in the cruelest way possible. And nobody's talking about that. Everyone's acting like I'm the villain, like I deserve to be humiliated and thrown out like garbage. But what about him? What about his part in this? What about the fact that he gave up on us without even trying? I know what you're thinking. You're thinking she compared him to his dad, she disrespected him, she had it coming. And maybe you're right. But let me ask you something. If the roles were reversed, if he had said something hurtful to me in a fight, would you be defending him, driving me to my mother's house and dumping me on her doorstep? Or would you be calling him abusive, controlling, manipulative? Because that's what this was. He didn't want to fix the problem. He wanted to punish me. He wanted to make me feel as small and worthless as possible. And he succeeded. So here's where I'm at. Part of me knows I was wrong. Part of me knows I hurt him deeply with that comment. Part of me knows I should have never said it. But another part of me, a part I'm not proud of, is furious at him. Because he took a stupid comment made in anger and used it to destroy our entire marriage. He didn't fight for us. He didn't try to understand where I was coming from. He just gave up. And maybe that says more about him than it does about me. Maybe he was looking for an excuse to leave. Maybe I just gave him one. Maybe our marriage was already broken and this was just the final crack that split it completely in half. Maybe we were both unhappy and neither of us wanted to admit it. Maybe I'm not the only villain in this story. If I'm being completely honest, and I might as well be at this point since I've already lost everything, I think I've been unhappy for longer than I wanted to admit. Not dramatically unhappy. Not, I need to leave him unhappy. Just quietly disappointed. Because when we first got married, I thought he'd grow into the man his father was. I thought he'd learn to be thoughtful, attentive, romantic. The kind of husband who brings you coffee in bed and remembers your favorite flowers and plans surprise date nights. But he didn't. He stayed exactly the same. And I kept waiting, kept hoping, kept making excuses. Until one day, I just snapped and said the thing I'd been thinking for months. Your father would have treated me better. And maybe that's the real truth. Maybe I didn't just say it in anger. Maybe I meant it. Maybe I've been comparing them this whole time, and he was always going to come up short. His father is everything a husband should be. He remembers birthdays and anniversaries. He plans surprises. He still flirts with his wife after 4 decades together. He opens doors and pulls out chairs and writes her little notes that he leaves on the kitchen counter. And my husband, he forgot our anniversary 2 years in a row. He's never surprised me with flowers. He doesn't even look up from his phone when I talk to him half the time. So, yeah, I compared them, and yeah, his father came out on top. Is that really so terrible? Is it really so wrong to want your partner to show you love and appreciation and effort? Is it really so awful to look at a healthy, loving relationship and wish your own relationship looked more like that? You know what's interesting? Women compare their partners to other men all the time. Why can't you be more like Jake? He takes his wife on dates every week. Sarah's husband cooks dinner for her every night. Why don't you ever do that? And it's considered normal, acceptable, even funny. But the second I made one comparison to his own father, someone who actually is a good husband, suddenly I'm the worst person alive. Suddenly I deserve to be humiliated and divorced. Why is that? Why is it okay for women to express disappointment in their partners in every other context, but not this one? Here's what I'm realizing. I'm sorry I hurt him. I'm sorry I said it the way I did, but I'm not sorry for wanting more. I'm not sorry for wanting a husband who treats me the way his father treats his mother. I'm not sorry for having standards. And if that makes me a villain, then fine. I'm a villain, but at least I'm a villain who knows what she deserves. But then I remember the look on his face when I said it, the way his eyes changed from angry to broken in the space of a heartbeat, the way his whole body seemed to collapse inward like I'd punched him in the stomach. And I feel sick, because I know that I didn't just hurt him. I destroyed something fundamental. I took the one thing he's probably insecure about, living up to his father's legacy, and I used it as a weapon. I went for the kill shot, and I landed it. Maybe he didn't overreact. Maybe I underestimated what I'd done. Maybe telling someone their parent would be a better partner is one of the most devastating things you can say to them. Maybe it cut deeper than I realized. Maybe it wasn't just about the words. Maybe it was about the years of quiet resentment those words represented. Maybe he heard, "You're not enough, you've never been enough, and you never will be." And maybe that's exactly what I meant. The guilt sits in my chest like a stone. I keep trying to push it down, to rationalize it away, to remind myself of all the ways he failed me too. But it's there, growing heavier by the day, because even though I can justify it 100 different ways, even though I can point out his mistakes and his overreaction, I still know. Deep down, I know. I crossed a line, and I can't uncross it. I tried to call him 17 times, sent 34 texts, long, rambling messages that probably made me sound desperate and pathetic. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. You have to understand, I was just trying to make a point about effort, about showing up. Your dad is an example of that, and I just wanted you to be that. I wasn't saying I wanted him. I was saying I wanted you to be more like him. Can't you see the difference? Please just talk to me. Please let me explain. We can fix this. I know we can. Don't throw away 3 years over one stupid comment. But the messages just sit there. Delivered, unread. He's blocked me. Or maybe he's just ignoring me. Either way, the result is the same. Silence. Complete and total silence, where there used to be daily texts and phone calls and constant communication. It's like I've been erased from his life, like I never existed at all. I tried reaching out to his family. His mother hung up on me after telling me I needed to leave him alone and let him heal. His sister blocked my number. His brother told me I'd made my bed, and now I had to lie in it. Even his father, kind and uncomfortable and embarrassed, eventually told me gently that maybe it was time I found somewhere else to stay. So I'm crashing on my friend Sarah's couch. She was sympathetic at first. Let me cry and rant and tell my side of the story. But by day 3, I could tell she was tired of hearing about it. "Maybe you just need to accept that it's over," she said while making her coffee one morning. "It doesn't have to be over," I insisted. "Girl," she looked at me with something like pity. "He drove you to his dad's house. It's over." Late at night, I scroll through old photos on my phone, torturing myself with memories. Our wedding day, our honeymoon in Mexico, that trip to the mountains last summer where we hiked to a waterfall and he kissed me under the spray. He's smiling in all of them, laughing, looking at me like I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. Was he faking it, or was he happy then? When did it change? Was it gradual or sudden? Was it me? Was it always me? I replay every moment of our relationship, looking for clues. All the times I criticized him. All the times I rolled my eyes when he told a joke that wasn't funny. All the times I made him feel like he wasn't good enough. And I wonder, was I the problem all along? Or was he? Or were we just wrong for each other? Two people who wanted different things and refused to admit it. The worst part is that I thought he'd come back. I really did. I thought after a few days he'd cool off. He'd realize he overreacted. He'd call me and say, "Okay, let's talk, let's figure this out." But he didn't. And he won't. Because I broke something that can't be fixed. I shattered his trust and his love and his image of who I was. And there's no gluing those pieces back together. I keep waiting for him to fight for me. That's the part that kills me most. He didn't fight for us. He just let me go. Like I was nothing. Like 3 years of marriage meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. And maybe that's the real answer, isn't it? Maybe I never meant as much to him as he did to me. Or maybe, and this is the thought that keeps me up at night, maybe he loved me so much that what I said broke him completely. Maybe it wasn't that he didn't care. Maybe it was that he cared too much. And I destroyed that love with one careless sentence. Maybe I'm not the victim here. Maybe I'm the villain. And maybe I deserve to be alone. Maybe this is exactly what I earned with my words and my resentment and my constant disappointment in a man who was probably doing his best, even if his best wasn't what I wanted. The divorce papers came on a Tuesday, hand-delivered by a courier who asked me to sign for them like they were a package from Amazon. I sat on Sarah's couch and stared at that envelope for 20 minutes before I could bring myself to open it. Irreconcilable differences. That's what it said, like our entire relationship could be summed up in 2 clinical words. Not she said something horrible. Not she compared me to my father. Just irreconcilable differences. I considered fighting it. I could contest it. I could refuse to sign. I could drag it out for months, force him to face me in court, make him actually look at me and explain why one sentence was worth throwing away everything we'd built together. But what would be the point? He's made his decision. And deep down, I know he's not coming back, no matter what I do, no matter how much I apologize or explain or beg. So I signed them, with a pen that kept skipping, leaving broken lines across my signature. On Sarah's coffee table that was covered in coffee rings and old magazines. In the middle of the afternoon, while she was at work and I was alone with my thoughts and my regrets. And it was done. 3 years of marriage, ended with a signature, reduced to a legal document and a court date and the division of assets. I sent him one last text, knowing he probably wouldn't read it but needing to say it anyway. I'm sorry. For everything. I hope someday you can forgive me, and I hope you find someone who appreciates you the way you deserve to be appreciated. I'm sorry I wasn't that person. I hit send, stared at the screen for a minute, and then I blocked his number. Because I couldn't keep torturing myself. I couldn't keep waiting for him to respond. I had to let go. Was I wrong? Yes. Was he wrong? Maybe. Did we both fail each other? Absolutely. But here's what I keep coming back to. I said one terrible thing, and he ended our marriage over it, without a conversation, without a chance to fix it, without any attempt to understand why I said it or what I was really feeling beneath the anger and exhaustion. So, who's really at fault here? Who's really the villain? Or are we both villains in different ways? 6 months later, I saw him at the grocery store. I was in the produce section, picking through avocados, squeezing them gently to see which ones were ripe. When I saw him, he was with someone, a woman, tall, blonde, laughing at something he'd just said. He was smiling, really smiling. That smile he used to save for me, the one that made his eyes crinkle at the corners and showed his slightly crooked bottom teeth. Our eyes met for just a second, and then he turned away, like I was a stranger, like we'd never shared a bed or a life or promises about forever, like I was just another face in the crowd. And I realized I don't exist to him anymore. I'm just a bad memory he's moved on from, a chapter he's closed and locked away. I went home and cried, but not because I was sad. I cried because I was angry. Angry that he moved on so fast while I'm still here, stuck in the same place, replaying everything. Angry that he looks happy while I'm barely holding myself together. Angry that he got to be the victim in everyone's eyes while I became the villain. Even though we both made mistakes, even though we both failed each other. Maybe I was toxic, maybe I was selfish, maybe I was wrong. But maybe he was too. Maybe there are no heroes in this story, just 2 people who hurt each other and couldn't find their way back. 2 people who wanted different things and communicated in all the wrong ways, until the damage was irreparable. I still think about that night sometimes, standing on his father's porch, watching his tail lights disappear, the moment everything changed. And I wonder what would have happened if I'd chosen different words, if I'd swallowed my anger and communicated better, if I'd told him what I really meant, that I was tired and overwhelmed and needed more support, instead of weaponizing his father against him. But I can't change it now. I can only live with it. Live with the knowledge that I destroyed my marriage with one sentence. Live with the memory of his face when I said it. Live with the reality that sometimes you can't take back the things you say, no matter how much you regret them. Words have power, and I used that power to hurt the person I loved most. And now I'm paying the price for it. So was I the villain? Maybe. But was I also a tired, frustrated woman who made a mistake? Also, yes. Can both things be true? I think they have to be. Because life isn't a story with clear heroes and villains. It's messier than that, more complicated, more human. We're all capable of being both, of being wrong and right at the same time, of hurting people we love and still deserving compassion, of making terrible choices and still being worthy of understanding. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to like me. I'm just asking you to see me as a whole person, someone who made a devastating mistake, but who also had reasons, however flawed, for saying what she said. Someone who is living with the consequences and trying to learn from them. Someone who is broken but still here, still trying to figure out how to move forward, still trying to understand where it all went wrong. The thing is, I keep replaying different versions of that night in my head, alternate timelines where I made different choices, where I came home from that double shift and instead of passive-aggressively slamming cabinets, I just said, "I'm exhausted, can we talk tomorrow?" Where I took a breath before speaking, where I counted to 10 like my therapist used to tell me to do before I stopped going, because therapy was expensive and we were trying to save money. In some versions, I apologize immediately. The words are barely out of my mouth before I'm saying, "Wait, no, I didn't mean that, I'm sorry." And in those versions, he's angry, but he listens. We fight properly, with raised voices and tears, but we fight together instead of against each other. We stay up all night talking about our resentments and our disappointments and all the ways we've let each other down. And by morning, we're exhausted, but we're still us, still together, still trying. But that's not what happened. What happened is, I let the words hang in the air between us like poison gas. What happened is, I watched them land and detonate, and I didn't do enough to stop the damage. I said I'm sorry, but I said it defensively, with justifications attached. I'm sorry, but you have to understand. I'm sorry, but I was tired. I'm sorry, but you never help around the house. And that but erased everything that came before it. I've learned that now. Too late, but I've learned it. An apology with a beauty attached isn't really an apology at all. It's just blame wearing an apology's clothes. And he heard that. He heard me saying, "I'm sorry you made me say that horrible thing. I'm sorry you don't measure up to your father. I'm sorry you're not good enough." Even though that's not what I meant. Even though what I meant was, I'm tired and scared that we're becoming roommates instead of partners, and I don't know how to fix it. But I didn't say that. I didn't say, I'm scared, or I'm lonely, or I miss feeling like we're on the same team. I said your father would have treated me better. And those 7 words ended everything. You want to know what the worst part is? I don't even know if I was right. His father treats his wife well, yes, but I don't know what their marriage looks like behind closed doors. I don't know if she ever feels lonely or unappreciated or taken for granted. I only see the surface, the door opening and the hand-holding and the anniversary celebrations. I don't see the fights or the compromises or the work it takes to maintain that image. Maybe his father is exactly as perfect as he seems, or maybe he's just better at performing the role of devoted husband in public. Maybe my husband learned his emotional distance from watching his father keep everything locked inside. Maybe the man I idealized is just as flawed as everyone else, just in ways I can't see from the outside. But I didn't think about any of that in the moment. I just grabbed onto the nearest weapon and swung it as hard as I could. And I connected. And now, I'm living in the aftermath of that violence, trying to figure out if I'm a victim or a perpetrator, or somehow both at once. Sarah told me last week that I need to move out. She was nice about it, apologetic even, but firm. I've been on her couch for almost 3 months now, and she needs her space back. She's started dating someone and it's getting serious, and she can't have her heartbroken friend sleeping 10 feet away from her bedroom anymore. I understand. I do. But understanding doesn't make it less terrifying. I'm looking at apartments I can barely afford, studio spaces in bad neighborhoods with parking lots that flood when it rains, places where the walls are thin enough to hear your neighbors' entire lives, places that feel like punishment, like this is what you get for destroying your marriage. This is what you deserve. I got a promotion at work. The irony isn't lost on me. Just as my personal life completely disintegrates, my professional life decides to flourish. More responsibility, better pay, an office with a door instead of a cubicle. My boss told me I've been showing real dedication lately, staying late, taking on extra projects. She doesn't know it's because I have nothing else to go home to. That work is the only place where I feel competent anymore, where I can succeed at something instead of failing spectacularly. I thought about telling my husband about the promotion, texting him like I used to whenever something good happened. Remember when we'd celebrate these things together? When a promotion meant dinner at that Italian place we loved, the one with the pasta he'd always steal bites of even though he ordered his own. But I can't text him. He's blocked. And even if he wasn't, what would I say? Hey, remember me? The wife you divorced? Just wanted you to know I got promoted. Hope you're well. Hope that woman I saw you with makes you happy. Hope you've forgiven me. Hope you think about me sometimes. Hope you regret what you did as much as I regret what I said. I wonder if he does think about me. If he ever lies awake at night replaying that fight. If he ever questions whether driving me to his father's house was the right move or just the most dramatic one. If he ever feels guilty for not giving us a chance to work through it. Or if he's completely moved on, sleeping peacefully next to someone new, someone who would never compare him to anyone because she's smart enough to keep her disappointments to herself.